Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a live episode of the Ango Show. Today we are talking about WWE Smackdown. And yes, by the title of today's stream, it looks like Paul Heyman is officially done with the Bloodline. Or shall I say, this version of the Bloodline. Hopefully you guys are all having a great night. We're going to talk a little bit about SmackDown. And most importantly, we are going to talk about that main event because, my God, that was incredible. I honestly did not think it was not good. It was fantastic. And I got to give props where props is due. You know what I mean? And just like this episode did so much for me. And not just including the Bloodline and the Cody Rhodes and Kevin and Randy Orton, but just in general, the build to Money in the Bank next weekend. Just a lot of credit needs to be given to WWE, a lot of continuity, a lot of progression, a lot of the right booking decisions were made tonight. So we're definitely going to talk about it. If you guys are joining me live on YouTube, the best thing you could do is click that subscribe button and click that like button. Costs you absolutely no money. If you guys want to drop a question or a comment and you want me to read it out loud and you want it to be guaranteed that I read it and answer your question, consider dropping me a super chat or become a member. If you're watching live on Twitch, you can use Amazon Prime for a free sub. And if you guys are watching me on Twitter, X, which I have been simulcasting between all three this week, and I think that's going to be kind of the plan going forward. But if you guys are watching on X, I will be able to read your chats, but there is no super chat function on there. So unfortunately, can't really do anything. If not, just jump over onto YouTube. But yeah, by the looks of it, guys, we are absolutely talking about this. I want to give you guys a shout out for all pulling up and just coming through tonight, because what an episode of SmackDown. What an episode of SmackDown. And honestly, guys, if you've been watching my channel this week, I've really been enjoying just watching wrestling and streaming, and I'm glad that I've been back into the streaming aspect of things, because quite honestly, I'm just enjoying it so much. And tonight's episode, when you get episodes like this, it is truly an enjoyable it's truly an enjoyable experience, and that's why I love talking about it with you guys. Let's shout out Sam Piboon for dropping a $4.99, kicking things off tonight with a super chat. Will Roman Reigns come back next week and have Money in the Bank? Interestingly enough, today, obviously, Roman Reigns did not return. And first and foremost, I don't know if Roman Reigns was ever planned to return today. I don't think so, based on the way the segment happened. But what I will say is Roman Reigns' father just passed away. So there's no timeline for me. I don't have any speculation on when he's going to come back or whatever it may be. I don't know when The Rock is going to come back. I don't know when Roman's coming back. I don't think we necessarily need it just yet, because there's a lot of other parts of the story being told. But what I will say is maybe Roman will be gone just a little bit longer. Sika just passed away. WWE did a tribute to him tonight, which was beautiful. A beautiful video package as well. But yeah, I don't think he'll be back by next week and have Money in the Bank. I think you see it's more likely that maybe the Usos get involved. But there's clearly a story being told. It's going to be very interesting to see how WWE ropes in Jimmy and Jay, and then, obviously The Rock coming back and stuff like that. So it's crazy, because there's a story between the baby faces, which is Cody, Kevin, and Randy Orton, and they're going up against the Bloodline. But in the same notion, there's something brewing within the Bloodline in itself. So there's like two stories that are crossing into each other. And I look forward to seeing how that plays out. But I will tell you this, Sam. One, thank you for the super chat. But two, I think right now, everything that's bound to happen is leading up to a incredible babyface return for Roman Reigns. So if you guys like Roman Reigns as a heel, tonight's actions with Paul Heyman tells me that something even bigger and greater will happen when Roman is a babyface. And I've said it before, guys. Maybe you've missed it on another stream, but I fully suspect Sami Zayn. I fully suspect Jimmy and Jay and Roman and Paul Heyman to be the biggest babyface. And what's cool about that is that, and I said this before, maybe you guys missed it last week, but if you have Sami Zayn return and become a babyface with the Bloodline, Kevin Owens can't forgive that. Kevin Owens is still dealing with the Bloodline. So the beauty of that is for WrestleMania next year, Kevin Owens as a heel, Sami Zayn as a babyface. I definitely think it goes in that direction. And that's going to be another great story that comes from this Bloodline stuff. So yeah, definitely a lot to look forward to here. I'm super excited about it. And I definitely want to talk about it more in detail. So shout out to Sam for the super chat. We got about 700 people watching between X, YouTube, and Twitch. So thank you guys for spending your Friday night with me. Let's talk about that main event segment. We have Solo Sikoa, who earlier in the night backstage segment told Paul Heyman that Jacob Fatu wasn't there. And, you know, Solo Sikoa, like, I get it. People don't think he's ready, but this guy, based on how the Bloodline story has been told the last few years, I am super proud to see Solo Sikoa take this spot and just be so damn good at it. Honestly, like the way he's doing this, it's great. He lied to Paul Heyman. He said that Jacob Fatu wasn't there. Okay. And that's because Paul Heyman himself said that Jacob Fatu is dangerous. What a foreshadowing moment that backstage segment was, because this acknowledgement ceremony was Solo Sikoa officially calling himself the new tribal chief and him taking the spot at the head of the table. And what's actually even better about this is that Jacob Fatu gets his own entrance. And let me just say this too. He gets his own entrance into, you know, you guys know, I don't like WWE theme music. I'm not a big fan of the theme music in WWE. Def Rebel is ass, okay? They're booty cheeks. Jacob Fatu gets his own entrance tonight. Fire, smoke, the theme song, everything is good. This guy, the red lighting, this guy's coming across as a very big deal. Jacob Fatu gets his own entrance and he comes out. And then you have Solo Sikoa telling everybody to acknowledge him. And they all fall in line. They all do the thing with the one, right? And then you have Tongaloa, Tama Tonga, and Jacob Fatu. They all say that they acknowledge Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa is becoming everything that Jimmy and Jay essentially hated about Roman Reigns, right? We're reliving that. The things that the original Bloodline hated about Roman Reigns, these guys are now doing with Solo Sikoa. And then Solo Sikoa turns to Paul Heyman and says to acknowledge me. And Paul Heyman, my goodness, this guy is so fantastic at what he does because he is crying. He's got the emotions. He's got the facial expressions. And he says that he loves Solo Sikoa, but he can't acknowledge him as my tribal chief. And Solo Sikoa hits him with a spike. He hits him with a spike and the Bloodline beat his ass. And then you get Jacob Fatu doing a splash/diving headbutt off the top rope. And then these fucking bastards, bro, you know what they do? They throw Paul Heyman out of the ring and like they do the shield power bomb onto Paul Heyman through the commentary table. And that's your closing shot for SmackDown tonight. WWE has found a way to really make this seem like a massive storyline. But what's amazing about this particular storyline is that it is so good that like now I want more next week. And I swear to God, this is like the one thing I talk about so often in my live streams and my shows. It's you got to you got to show me with your storytelling that you could produce stories that I want to see through and through every single week. And there's not a company that does it better than WWE. And I'm sorry if that offends you, if that pisses you off, that is the truth. WWE has found a way between the Judgment Day, Dom, Liv, Cody, Kevin, Randy, and the Bloodline. They've found multiple top storylines where they can close a show and completely end it with a bang. And it just creates this huge demand. WWE was at Madison Square Garden tonight. And the best part about it, man, is this is 18,000 people. 18,000 people in MSG. 18,000 people at MSG came to watch SmackDown live. They sold out. And so when I see Paul Heyman doing this is a sweet spot. We know that the Bloodline Civil War is going to be happening. We know that. But now they have done something, and you guys know, My real fans, my real viewers that like actually watch my content know how much I fucking hated 3-hour episodes of Raw. But then I get an episode like I did tonight with SmackDown, and I think, damn it, you got to make SmackDown 3 hours on USA. You have to. And maybe that's me just having recency bias, but like, holy shit, these last few episodes of SmackDown have gone from like, they've gone from having good episodes of SmackDown to now a point where like SmackDown is just unbelievably good. And here's the thing. We all love Paul Heyman. We all love Paul Heyman. We love what Paul Heyman does. But then you have Paul Heyman taking an ass beating from Solo Sikoa. And this new bloodline, we definitely know with this new bloodline, we know exactly what is going to happen. We know there's going to be a major swerve. And I've said this before, but a major swerve between Jacob and Solo, can they coexist? Jacob Fatu was called the enforcer for Solo Sikoa. Isn't that funny considering that Roman Reigns called Solo Sikoa his enforcer? So there's something that they're doing there where not only are they achieving Paul Heyman leaving the bloodline and getting kicked out and getting his ass beat, but they're also achieving this seed being planted, which is essentially, hey, Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa, there probably will be a power struggle. So it's really easy for me to get excited about a storyline like this because how much effort is actually being put into the storyline. I love the fact that Phil brought this up too, because I didn't know what it was called. The Ula Fala, which is like the red Samoan necklace, I believe. They brought that out and then they put it on Solo Sikoa. Tonight's segment was like, this is the way to do it. That's the way to do it. And here's the thing. WWE isn't stupid. They know that IWC is kind of split on Solo Sikoa. So you best believe there's like 3 birds with one stone. Babyface bloodline, heel bloodline. Oh, and then by the way, it's going to be very interesting when maybe this version of the bloodline kick Solo Sikoa out. That's another route that they can take this. Very crazy. We got a couple more super chats. Andre Benson dropping $5. He says, WWE has been beyond fire these past 2 weeks. I'm seriously thinking about going to SummerSlam in Cleveland. It's just over 3 hours away from me. I don't know what the ticket prices are for SummerSlam, so I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. But what I will tell you is that I think right now the WWE product is hot. And we all know with wrestling, sometimes it could get cold, sometimes it could get hot. I would go if you have the financial stability. I think going to a WWE event would be very much worth the money. And we all know that WWE SummerSlam, I was there last year in Detroit. I know some people thought maybe watching it on TV that the crowd wasn't loud, but I know when I was there in Detroit, man, I was having a blast. I feel like going to Cleveland would be worth it for me too, honestly. I'm really thinking about it. I'm sincerely thinking about going to SummerSlam because what I want to do on this channel is start going to more pay-per-views and covering and doing content and stuff like that. And that's something to definitely consider. But if you have the financial means to do it and it's not going to hurt your pockets, I can't imagine. I mean, they're building LA Knight and Logan Paul. Obviously, we're going to see what happens with the Judgment Day in the Wyatt 6. But it just seems like WWE has been putting out some meaningful content. And Andre, the one thing I'll say too is like, we're talking about big endings to SmackDown. And that's just SmackDown. We're not even considering what happened with the Wyatt 6 on Raw. We're not factoring in like Otis and Chad Gable. And there's so much other stuff that is happening. It's a no-brainer to me that it's worth going to. So yeah, man, if you have the means to do it, definitely recommend it. Shout out to you, Andre, for the $5 super chat. Appreciate you. D-Rec-Tube dropping $5. I think Jimmy and Jay is going to blame Roman of what Solo has become. You know, this is a very interesting super chat because I think so many people want to see the Bloodline baby faces together, right? But I also think a story of them coming together is also another major story. And I don't know how WWE decides to do that. I don't know if that's another long burn story. I don't know if that's a very quick, like, We're back. But what I will say is this: Jimmy and Jay are brothers. Jay is on Raw, Jimmy's on SmackDown. I've said this before, so this might not be a new idea to you guys, but Jay is killing it as a singles guy. When Jay comes back with Jimmy and Roman, it's got to be short term. It's got to be short term. And then I think you also have to throw in Sami Zayn, because that's a reunion. That's a real babyface reunion. The reaction to that magnitude, it would just be absolutely incredible. So I definitely think that needs to be noted. I think Jimmy and Jay could blame Roman of what Solo has become. And then the beautiful part of that is Roman, Jimmy, Jay, Paul Heyman, Sami Zayn, if they all came together, dude, I'm telling you guys right now, I'm watching this every week. WWE clearly has some big swerves and some big plans for this. This is not something that they're just like, let's throw it together last minute. This, you could very well tell that this is being planned meticulously. And here's the cool part about that too. If Jimmy and Jay come together and help Roman to take over Solo, what happens when Jacob Fatu maybe overthrows Solo Sikoa? And then Solo Sikoa maybe has to find his way back into the bloodline. That's something that we got to consider as well. And I think that's the crazy thing, man. That's the crazy thing about this all, is that there's so many different ways and routes that they're going to go. But the best thing for WWE to do is to do it slow burn. And I've said this before, man. I've said this. Not everybody can handle the slow burn, long-term storytelling. But I'm telling you, WWE, when they do shit like this, it's crazy. The greatest thing that has happened to professional wrestling in 2024 is the fact that WWE is not just being so thought out and well planned for the bloodline, but it's very applicable to many of the other stories. And I think another great example of that is CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. So definitely something I'm super excited about. DRecTube, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. A lot of great comments. I see some people mentioning Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu, you know, and that's another great thing that needs to be brought up because we haven't even seen them yet. Hikuleo can't be on the baby faces. He's got to be with his brothers, you know, and then Zilla Fatu, like him and Jacob Fatu. I don't know if you guys have seen what they've done in GCW, but holy shit. If they bring that level of intensity and tenacity to SmackDown, it's crazy. It's crazy. We have gotten to a point where I think this bloodline stuff has been so well planned that I think a lot of our theories could be wrong too. Honestly, like I think WWE has a very, very strict plan of what they're going to do, how they're going to go about it. And you know, the reality is this. I think if WWE is this well planned, I think we should all brace for our, like, Money in the Bank. Who knows what happens there, right? Maybe Hikuleo debuts. You know, what about SummerSlam? If Solo Sikoa versus Cody's at SummerSlam, do you bring Roman back at SummerSlam? Can you imagine if Roman Reigns helped Cody beat Solo Sikoa? And again, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but my point that I'm making is like anything could literally happen. And whatever that big thing is, they have it planned. They already know what they're doing. They already know. I love that Phil said this. I want to throw up Phil's comment on here. Phil says, we truly need to just sit back and enjoy. Let's not try to overhype ourselves. Yeah, I mean, like the beauty of this, though, is that we don't even really have to overhype it. They've delivered so much with this. And, you know, for me as a fan, dude, I'm sitting back and I'm relaxing and I'm enjoying it. And look, guys, like I'm gonna say this flat out, like I'm always transparent about this. Wrestling on Friday nights kind of sucks. Like, I like to go out and have a social life too. I like to have a work-life balance. You know, that's one of the benefits of being your own boss, is having a work-life balance. And it's gotten to the point that this summer I've kind of been like, hey, I just want to sit down and relax and watch SmackDown on Friday. So imagine like WWE provides you a good episode on a Friday night. You don't feel guilty for watching it and staying in, maybe like not going out or, you know, whatever it might be. So the cool thing about that is we have gotten to the point where like I don't even have to overhype it for myself. They're delivering in ways that I couldn't even imagine. So the detail, it's crazy, but I think that's the crazy thing. And I feel I see your comment too. Like, listen, man, if people get pissed that their fantasy booking doesn't come to life, I always feel bad for people like that because I never get pissed where my fantasy booking doesn't come to life. I've always kind of been one of those guys, in my opinion, where like fantasy booking is, I just enjoy doing it. I enjoy theorizing and stuff, but at the end of the day, I can only judge the product for what they're putting out, right? Like whatever they put out on a weekly basis, that's how I judge a product. I don't care what the grifters online say. I don't care what another person's opinion is, because, and the reason why I don't care about other people's opinions on the product is I know what I enjoy out of my wrestling. So when I fantasy book, I could speak for myself. I know when I fantasy book, I just do it to have fun and theorize and play with different ideas, and maybe where I would take the storyline. And I do think wrestling fans just need to understand that, hey, it's great to have these theories. You can't get mad at them for not doing it. Because clearly whatever they have planned, especially with WWE now, it's a little bit different because they're planning things in advance. Like you can tell they're planning things in advance. And that's why I think I kind of got annoyed a little bit today too, because I saw people on Twitter, they're like, fuck Roman Reigns for not being there. And I'm just like, bro, his father just died. Who would have really thought Roman Reigns would have been out there tonight at MSG? You know what I mean? And it wouldn't have made sense because the storyline is Paul Heyman leaving the Bloodline, not Roman. And Roman obviously doesn't know what's happening here. So yeah, like I'm kind of excited to see where that leads. And I think this way of doing the show actually made me even more excited for Roman coming back. Again, you don't want to rush things. You got to let things marinate. I said this with JD, and it's so funny because I've been saying the thing that when I was on JD's channel for TNT, the thing that I talked about was letting storylines marinate. It's like cooking chicken. You don't want to rush it. You want to cook it at the right temperature. You want to prepare it the right way. You don't want to get food poisoning, right? And some people laughed at that, but that's been my theory for years and years and years. And now look at the result of that. There's a quality storyline that's happening. And this isn't even the only quality storyline that's happened. So it's interesting going back to that conversation with JD and then looking at an episode like tonight and being like, well, imagine if Roman Reigns was there. But then who gives a shit? You want to make people more excited about Roman Reigns being a babyface? You want to make more people excited about Jimmy and Jay coming together? You don't do that by rushing it. You got to let things play out. And so that's why I love WWE. I love the WWE for this. And it's crazy to think that there was a time period when WWE wasn't doing shit like this. And so, I always go back to my analogy. WWE is like watching a Netflix series. If they give you everything in episode 1, then what the fuck is the point of watching the rest of the show? Can't do that. Can't do that. And if wrestling companies can't do it like WWE in this way, I'm not interested. I'm not saying my way is the right way or the wrong way, but if you see a company doing what WWE has been doing this year, you will see me talk very positively about it because that's the way I love watching it. And holy shit, when I see Paul Heyman crying in the ring, it's so melodramatic. It's so corny. It's so cheesy. There's a million ways to describe it. But we know what's going to happen. We know that Bloodline babyface reunion is going to be epic. Got to give Triple H props. We got a $9.99 super chat from L Middlebrook, Miss MT2U. I think CM Punk and Paul Heyman have a storyline that will intertwine with the Bloodline. This is amazing storytelling. I was in Chicago and it was amazing. Cherish this. First of all, thank you, Middlebrook, for the super chat. Thank you for the $9.99. I appreciate it. What's really crazy is that Punk is currently dealing with a storyline with Drew McIntyre. And you know what would be really crazy? Paul Heyman kind of being away from the Bloodline for a little bit. Clearly, this could, free up some of his time. What if Drew McIntyre also beat the shit out of Paul Heyman, causing hurt and pain to CM Punk? We all know how much Paul Heyman means to CM Punk. We know how much Larry and AJ Lee how much they mean to CM Punk. Paul Heyman is now out of the bloodline. We're going to have to wait a little bit of time before Paul Heyman and Roman and everybody come together. That could be something that kind of crosses paths. And the cool thing about them crossing paths is, you know, if Drew goes after Paul Heyman in some capacity, even better, because that means CM Punk is there. And you got to remember, WWE is not ignoring things. I think that could be a very big possibility. And then, you know, if the Bloodline, what the Bloodline did to Paul Heyman, it's obviously a big deal. Maybe CM Punk, after when he's done with Drew McIntyre, maybe it leads him to go after the Bloodline. WWE lets things happen in the past, and then Triple H doesn't want you to forget that it happened. So there's always a possibility that Punk could go after the Bloodline for this. And imagine Punk in a storyline with the Bloodline. It's just, there's so many crazy possibilities. And I love the fact that WWE, they do things for a reason. And I appreciate that. L. Middlebrook, Miss M2U, thank you for the $9.99 super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got a super chat from Adam Plitko for $3. He says, WWE is making fans pay attention to the little things. Right on the money. And, you know, I agree. I think the little things matter. They should matter. I think the little things make the big things even bigger. I think, you know, one thing too is, like, we saw with the Wyatt Six, right? You know, the Wyatt Six was very infamous for having little Easter eggs. But I think what's really cool about WWE making people care about this is the fact that something little could have happened 6 months ago, and it could play into a very big role 6 months later. That is the cool thing. I love the idea of something happening on television to the point where, like, you might not get it now. You may not understand why it's important today, but at some point it's going to matter, and you will be so much happier because of it. And then let's just kind of throw this in there, right? People watched my video today. I made a video talking about Penta, and this doesn't have to do with the Bloodline, but it's just to kind of give you a perspective. There are very strong rumors that Pentagon Jr. could be leaving AEW and going to WWE. And I seen that some people were offended in the comments that I was talking about this, being happy about Penta going to WWE. And the thing is, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, well, imagine if Penta had a feud with Gunther. What if Penta was in the Intercontinental Championship title scene? What if Triple H allowed Penta to keep his moveset for the most part? Obviously, not everything probably could carry over, but, like, I think a talent in AEW has been underutilized. And I think WWE could do better with them. It doesn't mean they'll 1000% be better with them, but there's certain people where I just think it's like a really good thing for them to jump over, right? So when I think of Penta possibly leaving AEW for WWE, I'm thinking about, hey, what are some matches they can do? And then, by the way, the little details matter, and that's what makes everything bigger. Jacob Fatu versus Penta, right? Could be something. Could be something. That could be a pay-per-view match in 2025. How they get there and how they do it, who knows? I'm not going to speculate on that. But there's matches that I want to see, right? And so when I know that there's a match I want to see, I'm not telling you guys from the perspective of, hey, these two guys are going to go out there and do some really cool moves and it's going to be a great match. My point is, they're going to do some really cool moves and have a great match, but the build up to get there will be astounding. And it's always because of the little things. And that right there is the most important thing that needs to be mentioned. Adam, thank you for the super chat. Wrestling Russ dropped a $10 super chat. Ango, glad you are live. Is this going to be the norm? So I have been live all week, and sometimes I do them during the day around the afternoon, and sometimes I do them after the show. I want live streaming to be a major part of this channel. Major part of this channel. I enjoy it. I have a lot of fun. I love reading the chat. I love talking with you guys. I love interacting with you guys. I love sometimes just kind of spitballing my ideas. I just love talking about wrestling and interacting with you guys about wrestling. I love the live stream function. I always feel bad because I feel like I could be a better live streamer. Sometimes I do feel like there's a room for improvement. Sometimes I get conflicted with schedules and stuff. So I do want to get to the point where there is a very strict schedule. But yes, I will be live streaming a lot more. I've been live streaming every single day this week during the day. Those have been really fun. We are simulcasting as well. So we're live on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. That's really the big thing. So yes, it is going to be the norm. I'm looking for ways to get it figured out, and hopefully it all works. And guys, the best way to have live streams is when everybody's chatting and having a good time. So the more you guys are in the chat, the more I can answer your guys' questions and have those conversations. Most definitely, that's when it's the most fun. So if you guys are in the chat, definitely go off. I'm going to try to read everything, but that's why super chats and memberships always guarantee your responses, because they do come up in the big yellow, the big green, big blue box. So I see those firsthand. Wrestling Russ, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you, brother. Myra, one of our OGs, dropping a $10 super chat. SmackDown continues to be the #1 show. Correction, the Bloodline show. I'm torn, honestly, because I feel like Raw has been really good. SmackDown's been really good. I love NXT. It's a known fact that I love NXT. One of my favorite parts about this, though, is that SmackDown has gotten to the point where the Bloodline is a major focus, but let's not forget about those other great stories that are happening. Let's not forget that Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton played a very major role in today's SmackDown with LA Knight, Santos, and of course Logan Paul. Let's not forget about the women's Money in the Bank match and the stories that are being told across with Bianca and Jade and Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton. Let's not ignore the fact that Tiffany Stratton and Naomi are going to Money in the Bank. Let's not ignore those facts, right? The Bloodline is a very major focus for WWE, and obviously that's where a lot of the attention is, because that is the marquee storyline. But I don't want you guys to think I don't like the rest of SmackDown, because, again, I wouldn't be asking for a third hour of SmackDown if I didn't enjoy the first hour and 45 minutes of SmackDown. And this is 2 shows back to back where SmackDown has been excellent. I tried looking for a flaw. There wasn't a flaw this week. There was nothing. We talk about talent utilization. It's the thing that pisses me off the most about wrestling. It's something I complain about. And today they found a way to have Mia Yim ask for a match opportunity, having Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin in a backstage segment. Again, I understand not everybody can have a match every week, but can you find a way to put them on TV to make them feel part of the show? This is something that WWE is starting to correct on SmackDown. I appreciate that greatly. Shout out to Myra for the $10 super chat. Appreciate you. Princify dropping a $2 super chat. Do you think there will be any returns next week? I do. Debuts or returns, I really don't know. I can't say for sure what it's going to be, obviously, because there is literally no way for me to know. But what I will say is this. Jimmy and Jay all... obviously Jimmy's out injured. We don't know when he's expected back. Jay is going to be in the Money in the Bank match. They're going to be in Toronto. Do you plant the seed on SmackDown in Toronto? Do you plant the seed at Money in the Bank? What if Jey Uso were to be the Money in the Bank winner, and then the Bloodline find themselves on Raw not giving a shit about the rules, and then they go stop Jey Uso from cashing in? And that could be a reason to draw Jay into the Bloodline mess, right? There's a lot of different ways that it could go down. Do I think it's going to be The Rock and Roman Reigns? I don't think we're ready for it just yet. I genuinely don't think we're ready for that just yet, but you never know. WWE has been making these PLEs a very big deal. And because they're making them a big deal, the beauty of that is the fact that, like, now we're getting to a point where I think we're going to see a lot of smaller stuff happen, and it's just going to explode. And that's when Roman and the baby faces come together. I think there's actually a greater chance that we see Hikuleo or Zilla Fatu join the WWE, whether it's on SmackDown, Money in the Bank, or SummerSlam. I think those are like the marquee moments. But yeah, WWE has found a way to just do random shit on a Friday night sometimes, and it's the biggest surprise ever. And that's where they deserve their credit, because again, 18,000 people for a random ass SmackDown. Granted, it's at Madison Square Garden, but 18,000 people in MSG, and it's just another episode of SmackDown. This wasn't the go home show. This wasn't the first show after a pay-per-view. It's just a random ass SmackDown, and they still find a way to create big moments. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons when I talk about wrestling fatigue during the summer and wanting to have a little bit of a work-life balance and getting away. It's because usually around this time of the year, every year, things kind of slow down a little bit. Things kind of get a little, quiet. And WWE has found a way this summer to really just kick things off in a big way. So if there's no returns next week, I won't be disappointed. If there are returns next week, I look forward to seeing how it all transpires. Shout out to you, Prince of Five, for the super chat. Thank you. Myra dropping another super chat, this time for $20. She goes, also curious if the Roman Reigns documentary is part of the long-term storytelling, or maybe it was a compilation I came across. No mention of The Rock. He acknowledged Sami Zayn, and I hope he makes his way back. # honorary Oos. I have not watched the documentary. To be honest with you, I have not found time to watch really any documentary or anything lately. What I will say this, though, is if it's a recent documentary, WWE had done the same thing with the Bray Wyatt documentary, which at the end teased Wyatt 6. So I don't know what this is going to be. I don't know what this is going to turn into. I don't know anything, but WWE is starting to utilize the Pat McAfee show. They're starting to utilize other shows. They're starting to utilize social media, their documentaries. I mean, they're finding different ways outside of the 2-hour time slot to tease things and create Easter eggs. Also, one thing I will say too, there is the WWE / Fanatics convention thing that they're doing at some point in July. And I know Cody Rhodes will be there. Maybe there's something there with Solo Sikoa that can happen, right? It's like a meet and greet special type of thing. I would expect some stuff like that. In terms of The Rock, in terms of Roman, I think a lot of it is going to come and stem from what happens on Friday nights. But of course, we don't really know. So we'll see how that all transpires. But I think the honorary Oos coming back makes the most sense. I love my theory about Sammy turning babyface with the original Bloodline guys, not turning babyface, but I like the idea of Sammy being babyface with the Bloodline. I love the idea of Kevin Owens being pissed off about it, and that causes him to turn heel because of obviously what he's gone through with the Bloodline. And not only do you get the Rock and the Roman stuff, and then the Bloodline OGs and the fucking dickhead Bloodline, but then you get Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in a beautiful storyline that genuinely makes a lot of sense. So there's a lot to be excited about there. Shout out to you, Myra. Thank you for the super chat. Jana dropping a $4.99. I don't want to see Cody versus Roman 3 unless Cody is a heel. They're both baby faces now, so my interest isn't there. Got to shake up the dynamics. I love this. I love this. I love this. I do want to see Cody and Roman roles reversed at some point. I like the idea of Cody eventually turning heel. I love the idea of so much happening here because, quite frankly, Cody as a heel really changes up the dynamics. But before we could even get to that, and I don't think we're going to get that anytime soon, but before we get to that, I look forward to the day that Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, who were rivals, standing side by side to fight the Bloodline. Because it's going to happen at some point where Cody's in the ring with Roman and it's the unlikely alliance. Nobody foresees it happening. That is something I look forward to. When Cody and Roman have to beat the shit out of Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa and Tonga Loa and Hikuleo and Zilla Fatu and 15 of their other cousins. When that moment happens, I look forward to seeing Cody fight side by side with Roman. So, yes, I don't want to see Cody versus Roman 3 unless Cody's a heel. 1,000,000% agree with you. How do they get to Cody being a heel? We're not close to it. I think we're very far away from that. But at the same time, too, if that happens, roles reverse would be incredible. And I am not going to shy away from telling you guys this. People could get sick of the Bloodline shit all day if they want. They could get sick and tired of Cody being a babyface. But the minute that you have roles reversed, I think it just completely changes the whole dynamic. So very, very exciting to see that. Jana, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. Rick Corellas, Phil has become a new YouTube member. So let's give a shout out to Phil. He has joined the Job Squad. I don't talk too often about the tiers. But we have 3 tiers, guys. You could become part of the Job Squad. You could be, in the mid card. You could be a main eventer, whatever your heart desires. You could be like Phil. Phil, I don't know if you're in our Discord, but let me know. I'll get you in the VIP. I admittedly have to be better at Discord. I'm trying to be better at Discord. But between Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, I run everything myself, dude. It is so hard sometimes. But if you're not in the Discord, let me know. I'll get you in the VIP. Shout out to you for becoming a member. Rick Carell is dropping a $5 super chat. Do we see Otis, Maxine, and Tozawa as their own faction? You know, it's interesting that you're bringing this up because WWE loves factions. I have no idea. Quite frankly, I don't know what the hell to expect with them. But what I will say is that I think Otis needs to just go solo, honestly. And look, man, like I feel like Tozawa's great and Maxine, they're great in like this like comedic act. I want people not to forget how fucking badass Tozawa was in Japan. So yeah, crazy. Yeah. 1000%. I would rather see Tozawa get a serious push, maybe start a new faction with somebody else. He might be stuck as a comedy act. I'm not sure. Maxine, I'm not really sure. But Otis, I feel like should be a singles guy. The crowd loves him. People love him. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Thank you, Rick, for the super chat. We got another one. Wrestling Russ dropping another super chat tonight. $5. I'm looking so forward to see Jacob Fatu in a match. Been watching past matches of his, and he is crazy good. Better than I remember. Blair is better than I remember. So, guys, let's talk about that for a second, right? Let's talk about Jacob Fatu. The entrance, badass. Lost weight and got his physical appearance and got in better shape, which, by the way, like, he was even bad before, right? But you could tell he did a lot of work to cut some pounds and to like tone up his body a little bit. His entrance, his presentation that was like my biggest concern, honestly. Like if I was gonna tell you what my concern was with Jacob Fatu, especially when we heard about the Caesar Sokoa trademark bullshit ass thing that was popping out, and Dave Meltzer talking about that being Jacob Fatu, is like, I was more worried about how they would present him because we know this guy could wrestle. I've watched enough MLW. I've watched enough GCW. I've watched enough indies to just know. And this guy is a all-round beast. He's an all-round beast. And Jacob Fatu, like, for a very, very long time, we've waited to see if he could get into WWE. And it never happened. And look, there was like a lot of reasons why it might have not happened. And I get why. Like, there's a criminal record. There's some stuff that, like, behind the scenes back in the day, like, there's some stuff that made it very difficult for WWE to bring him in. Endeavor doesn't give a shit. So the cool thing is he's there. He's a prominent part. Russ, if you've seen his old matches, imagine what it's going to be like when he's working with some of the best wrestlers in television. Imagine what it will be like when Jacob Fatu has to have a match with Cody Rhodes. Imagine what it's going to be like when he has to wrestle Kevin Owens or Randy Orton. WWE loves the theatrics. This guy has already proven to us in 2 weeks that he could do the theatrics. He could do the character shit. Now imagine when he brings that intensity in the ring. Part of your super chat, you mentioned Blair. I'm assuming you're talking about Blair Davenport. The crowd was a little quiet on her in the beginning, and then they started to wake up. Blair Davenport, love her. Somebody who I felt like was severely underutilized in AEW. Went to NXT UK, was incredible. Went to NXT 2.0, and then I felt like, that was kind of interesting what they did. Then they eventually figured it out with her. The consummate professional. Now she's on the main roster. Love her. So if you're talking about Blair Davenport, just know I'm a huge fan of her. I want to see some of these women from the UK, like NXT UK brand. I want to see them on main roster just doing bangers. So yeah, she's awesome. And I think, you could see with the crowd reaction tonight, maybe not everybody knew who she was, but eventually they started to kind of like get excited about it. So I'm all for that, man. I was so geeked to see her. And again, it's one of the biggest reasons why I talk about having new faces on TV, switching things up. Look at Jade Cargill tonight. Jade Cargill and just watching her and Tiffany Stratton and Candice LeRae in a triple threat match. And Jade looked incredible. Jade has aura. But her being in the ring with Candice LeRae, and Candice LeRae is great, but she is somebody that needs a little bit more of these types of matches. It's okay if she wins or loses, but you need to be exposed to the audience, and you got to do it the right way. So I felt like WWE did a good job across both women's matches tonight, exposing some of these fresher faces to the audience. And what a time to do it. 18,000 people at MSG. It just makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Russ, again for your super chats tonight. We got a new member. Titus has joined. He is in the main event club. So shout out to Titus. I appreciate you coming through, Titus. Thank you so much. Really do appreciate it. I didn't see any comments associated with yours, but I do appreciate you for becoming a member. A lot of interesting comments too, and I do want to pull this one up. It's not a super chat, but I did see this. It caught my eye. Should Solo get a wise man? Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think Solo Sikoa should have a wise man? I mean, that's a real question. Like, who could it be? Who could be the one to manage this new bloodline? And is Solo Sikoa good enough to be in the ring and on the mic? That's a serious question. It's a serious question. Because I think it's very fair, like, to assume. We all know Roman Reigns could talk on the mic, but Paul Heyman was a very big part of that act. And he really put them over. Something to consider, something to keep in mind. A couple different responses. I like this. Titus, our new main eventer on the channel, he says Solo should have MVP. Is that a route that they decide to go? I wouldn't be opposed to that. I don't know if MVP has ruffled some feathers in the WWE, but I definitely wouldn't be opposed to that. That's for sure. 1,000%. 1,000% I wouldn't be opposed to that. I also like this. Rick says Rikishi as his wise man. Love this. It would be interesting, though, for Rikishi to be his wise man. Because then you're making Rikishi a heel. I feel like for the most part, I think people would look at Rikishi as a big babyface. So that is something to obviously consider as well. But who knows? Or, you know, does Solo Sikoa really need a mouthpiece when he's working side by side with The Rock? Obviously, The Rock hasn't been revealed yet as part of this, but The Rock doesn't need a wise man, does he now? But these are good answers. I mean, I'm looking at the chat. I don't know if you guys have any other recommendations. I don't hate the idea of MVP. I don't hate the idea of Rikishi. There's obviously some challenges by doing something like that, but of course, I think it's possible. And for sure, I think, you know, if you have The Rock being there, you don't need a mouthpiece. But if you want the visual representation, definitely something to consider. There was another one. Where was it? Haku. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they listen, man, you could put anybody in there, really. But I feel like it's all about, with the bloodline, it's so much about aura. And you don't want to add members for the sake of adding members too. That's like the big thing, right? So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I saw some really good ones. Yeah, super geeked about that though. And that was a great question, by the way, about about Solo having a mouthpiece. I don't really think Solo needs a mouthpiece if they're working for The Rock. But in the meantime, who knows? I mean, it's very clear. Like, Tama Tonga could talk, by the way. He can cut promos. I do hope we get to see a little bit more of that, because if we can get Tama Tonga to talk, that would be great too. And he's the right hand man, so it kind of makes a lot of sense. But let's not forget, Paul Heyman is one of. I really do think Paul Heyman is the greatest wrestling manager to ever exist, and maybe that pisses people off, but that's a possibility. That maybe they just don't need one. I don't know. Definitely interesting for sure, though. Yeah, that's what killed the NWO. No single mouthpiece. But if you're The Rock, do you really need a mouthpiece? That's the big question. Yeah, Phil says Heyman is my greatest manager of all time. I mean, there's so many great managers too, but man, he was really one of the best, dude. One of the best. I really fucking love Paul Heyman. And you know, I don't know if I could pull this image up, so I'm gonna try to do this on the stream because I sometimes have a hard time doing this. Let me see if I can okay, yeah, I could. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to figure out how to do this because I don't do this very often. So, I mean, if you guys could see, I don't know how this looks, but Paul Heyman and his eyes and the emotions, not shaved. Like, what a genius, bro. Incredible, bro. Incredible. Johnny's question was, tonight was Caleb Braxton's last night in the WWE. Yeah, we talked about that a lot in the videos, though. D-RecTube dropping another super chat tonight, $2. What is Tamina doing these days? From my understanding, she has retired from in-ring competition. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what that plan is. You know, if they were to bring Tamina in, I don't know if they bring in Nia Jax. I don't know if they bring in Naomi. You know, who knows how big this stuff will get. But I don't want them to get to the point where it gets so crazy and so packed with talent that people are now getting lost in the shuffle. Like, one of the cool things that they've done tonight was really set, like, Tama Tonga's the right-hand man. Tonga Loa's like Tonga Loa. But Jacob Fatu is the enforcer. Solo Sikoa is the tribal chief. You know, that's the thing. And you don't want to just add people for the sake of adding them. That's really the biggest thing. And I feel like sometimes that's my biggest fear is that they will do that. And when you add too many people, it sucks. So I'm hoping that they're planning this out properly. But yeah, from my understanding, Tamina is just under the radar, working backstage in WWE. And they haven't announced anything, but she's doing some like backstage stuff. And I don't know what that's going to lead to, if anything. But yeah, definitely wouldn't mind it, though. If you get the women involved, I wouldn't mind it. I think, if anything, Naomi probably makes the most sense because she's literally married to Jimmy. Tamina obviously makes sense as well. Nia Jax obviously makes sense as well. Nia Jax is already a great heel on the women's roster. Tamina hasn't really been active. I don't know if people would care as much about Tamina, but if you're going to throw in the women and she wants to wrestle and she wants to be part of it, I'm definitely not opposed to it. Thank you again for the super chat. Appreciate it. Just reading some of the comments in the chat. I saw somebody... where was it? Ango, do you think how does WWE move Jay to SmackDown? That's the question. I answered this a couple times already. Jay should be on Raw as a member of the Raw roster as a singles guy. I like the idea of the Bloodline going after Jay. Fuck the brand split, fuck the rules. Just go that way. You know? And so once that happens, you reunite them temporarily, then he goes back to Raw and does his own thing. It doesn't have to be complicated. Shout out to Meat Night 8. Thank you for joining the Job Squad. Appreciate you. And thank you very much for that. I see Russ mention the Tonga twins. I know that's what you meant. Not Tinga, but Tonga twins. They left WoW. There is a very big possibility that they can... there's a very big possibility they could join. I don't know if they would join the Bloodline, but I could see them joining NXT. but I could definitely see that as a possibility for sure. And they're a great tag team, so who knows? I like this idea too. Jay can win Money in the Bank, and then he can go anywhere. So, and I have mentioned that, right? Jay Money in the Bank, he's going to switch sides. And to be honest with you, Jay should probably lose his cash in due to the Bloodline. We don't need a successful cash in this year. And that could be the thing that gets him over to Jimmy. And you guys got to remember, Jimmy and Jay are not on good terms, but brothers fight. Brothers have arguments. Brothers are dickheads to each other. But at the end of the day, brothers always come back together because that's the real normal human being thing to do. And if you have a brother and you have beef with your brother and you don't reconcile with your brother, you and your brother should be ashamed of yourselves. So that's how I look at it. Definitely how I look at it. Crazy, man. Crazy. And you got to think too, if Jay joins the Usos and the Bloodline baby faces, you want him to go back to the main roster or main event scene on Raw anyway. So there's a lot of ways to go about it. And maybe, you know, what's really cool about that is when he decides to leave the baby faces and tells Roman, like, listen, man, like I got your back. You're my cousin, but I'm on Raw. Yeet. You know, it'll be a really cool thing when Roman gives Jay his stamp of approval as a baby face. Mark my words. Clip that right now. Clip that. Save that, because it will happen. When Jay decides that he wants to leave the babyface bloodline to go back to doing his own thing on Raw, that moment will be very impactful. The moment that Roman Reigns looks at him and says, you can do it. Because look at how the bloodline started 4 years ago or 3 years ago, whenever the hell it was. And that right there would be very significant. So Jay coming to the bloodline temporarily to help out, take care of family business, go back to Raw, main event scene, a lot of ways to do it. But the moment that Roman approves it and tells him he's good and endorses him, you just made Jey Uso even a bigger star. Trust in Ango right now, ladies and gentlemen. Jana dropping a $4.99. I think Jade and Bianca will get a rematch for the tag titles. In my opinion, I don't think Jade is ready to be completely solo yet. Keep them together. Honestly, I thought Jade looked good tonight. I thought she looked really good tonight. I don't hate the idea of them going back for the tag titles, but there is WWE wants to build up the Jade and Nia Jax thing. You know, I don't agree. I don't disagree. I'm like kind of in the middle. I don't think they need the tag titles. I think having the tag titles around Alba Fire and Isla Dawn is a good thing. Also, you know, I'm going to just kind of throw this out there. WWE has the NXT brand. They have Raw. They have SmackDown. They're working with TNA. I wouldn't even mind Alba Fire and, you know, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn going to TNA to defend against their women's division. I'd rather see stuff like that being handled with the belts, but Jade will only be ready completely solo the more she does this. That's all it is. You could tell she's got the presentation down. She's got the character stuff down. She's got the mannerisms down. She landed a crazy super kick on Tiffany Stratton tonight. She didn't look bad. You know, I think a lot of people have these crazy expectations for her, which I think is also kind of unfair, but I think she's doing fine. I don't think she's worse than she was in AEW, if that makes sense. So shout out to you, Jana. Thank you again for the super chat. I do appreciate you. Meat Night 8 dropping $2. I'm going with Chelsea Green to win Money in the Bank this year. I am as well. Chelsea Green, as much as it's harder to pick between her and Tiffany Stratton, I do want to see that happen. And, you know, quite frankly, Chelsea Green as Money in the Bank, as a Karen, her character work, it will be really funny. It will be really, really funny, to be honest. I actually look forward to the shit out of that. So yeah, man, to me, that's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer to have Chelsea win Money in the Bank. And to be honest with you guys, I want Chelsea to win Money in the Bank and hold it for a minute. You know, I want to see her be a Karen. I would hate for Chelsea Green to win it, try to cash in same day and fail. Even though it could result in some really good stuff after the fact, I want to actually see her with the Money in the Bank and see what her character does. So yeah. Shout out to you, Meat Night 8. Thank you for the super chat. So you guys got some interesting usernames on YouTube, by the way. Russ dropping another super chat tonight. Do you think Randy will turn heel, and what are your thoughts on that? Yes, 1000%. I actually released a YouTube short today called "Never Trust Randy Orton." There was some signs that WWE had given us again. It's constantly happening. We're seeing it time and time again with Randy and Cody. Cody actually said that he wouldn't even be there as champion if it wasn't for Randy Orton. Randy Orton's looking at him. He's a snake. You never trust a snake. I don't care what anybody says. You never trust a snake in your life. And Randy Orton is a snake. Randy will turn heel. In fact, I think Randy will turn heel at Money in the Bank. I ain't going to talk about that because I will be doing Money in the Bank predictions next week live on the channel. But yeah, I think Randy turns heel on Cody. I think Randy and Cody, actually, fuck, I lied. Randy will not turn heel at Money in the Bank because we're building towards Cody and Solo at SummerSlam. But this summer, Randy will turn heel. Randy versus Cody, WrestleMania 41 will be the plan. I do think it's going to be a little bit more of a long-term plan. But who knows? Maybe they turn him heel first. I think they're going to build it up a little bit more. But he's been eyeing that championship, so it does make sense a lot for it to happen at some point soon. So yeah. Thank you, Russ, again for your super chats. You have been super generous. All of you guys have been generous tonight, so I do appreciate that. Thank you. We got another super chat from Keyworks. This might be a first-time super chat. I'm not sure. Keyworks dropping a $2 super chat says, I'm ready for this Austin Theory face run. I love it. DIY didn't wrestle tonight, but they had the backstage segment with Theory. They're trying to convince Theory that, you know, Grayson Waller is a piece of shit. I don't know why he needs to be convinced. I don't know why he needs to be convinced at all, but hey, I'm with it, bro. I'm with it. And I would love to see Theory turn face. What they do with him or how they go about it, I don't know. I'm not sure. Honestly, man, I'm super excited to see what Theory can do. I feel like Theory has all the tools to be successful as a singles guy. He reminds me a lot of a young Randy Orton. I don't think Vince McMahon really helped his case. And I think because Vince McMahon didn't really help his case, I think that's kind of puts Triple H in a tricky situation too, unfortunately. So just something to keep in mind, something to consider for sure. But I am ready for it too. And I think we'll see that very soon. And I look forward to when DIY wins those tag titles. And I look very forward to when the fucking Triple H puts DIY against GOD for the tag titles. I look forward to that shit. Oh my God, it would be amazing. Rick Corral is dropping a $5 super chat. Speaking of TNA and NXT, possible that we see them holding each other's company belts. What do you think of Kelsey wanting the Divas belt back? Who is Kelsey? Why is this not ringing a bell in my name? I'm not sure if my brain is having a fart right now. I'm not really sure, honestly. But what I will say this, to answer your question, TNA and NXT having people hold each other's belts, absolutely, it should happen. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was a couple debuts tonight at TNA. They did tapings at the 2300 Arena in Philly. Yeah, I would say I would say get excited. They got some stuff cooking. Again, though, I don't want title changes just for the sake of doing title changes, especially with TNA being involved. You know, I want it to make sense. So, yeah, definitely something to pay attention to. Oh, okay, I seen in the chat you meant Chelsea Green, right? Chelsea Green. What do you think of Chelsea wanting the Divas belt back? Wait, hold on. When did Chelsea hold the Divas belt? Or are you talking about the Knockouts Championship? We don't live in the Divas era anymore. That's why I'm bringing that up. I don't know. But again, I've been doing this for over an hour. It's late at night. You know, I could be having a brain fart. But if you're talking about Chelsea Green should be women's champion no matter what. WWE women's champion. She should be women's champion without a doubt at some point. It should be great. Should be wonderful to watch. Oh, she wants to bring the Divas belt back. Okay, I didn't see this interview. See, thank you guys. Thank you. Cedric and Phil helping me out here. I appreciate that. Yeah, if she wants to bring the Divas belt back, fuck yeah. For her character, oh my God. That would be amazing. You know, honestly, like, and it could only be a thing for her. Only for her. Oh, I'm all for it. Who does she do the interview with? I want to watch this. I would love to watch that. You got to tell me where this interview is, and I'm gonna watch it tonight because I'm a huge fan of Chelsea Green. I think she's amazing, dude. I think she's incredible. Okay, yeah, you guys let me know. Post it in Discord. I give you guys, post the link in Discord. I'm all for it, man. Thank you, Rick, for the super chat. If we have any last minute super chats, get those in before we call it a night. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. What was I going to say? Oh, last thing I wanted to mention regarding SmackDown. The Open with the baby faces attacking the heels. I just really wanted to point this out because it was super cool. Kevin Owens is a fucking madman. I can't believe I waited this long to say it, but Kevin Owens is so good as this baby face. I just love everything that he's doing. And that's why I think it's really going to bother him and it's going to hurt his heart when Sammy becomes a baby face with the Bloodline. So yeah, definitely some good stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday night. It's 11 o'clock. I appreciate you all for coming through. You guys went off with the super chats and the chat engagement, and I just truly appreciate it. At one point, we had like 700 viewers between YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. So thank you all. You know, I look forward to the day where one day we're at millions of viewers live. Phil, you could post it in the wrestling chat or the general chat. It doesn't matter. You're good to post it. I'm actually going to start easing up a lot on the rules in Discord too. You could post it either way. It's not a big deal. I'll take a look at it. But yeah, Discord's going to be really fun. So if you guys aren't in Discord, I do have the link in the description. Just an overall very fun stream, man. I love streaming. I love doing this shit. We have Forbidden Door on Sunday. I don't know if I want to watch it and cover it. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I really want to watch Swerve and Ospreay. I really want to watch Mina Shirakawa and Tony Storm and that whole thing. I want to see that for sure. Not much else that I care about on that card, but I do want to watch those stuff. So maybe I'll just fucking buy the pay-per-view and cover it on Sunday. If not, I will see you guys tomorrow anyways on the channel. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the likes. And thank you to all the new members and subscribers. Appreciate you all. I'm glad we all enjoyed this together. I did drop a poll on my community tab as well. What did you think of WWE Smackdown tonight? If you guys want, go ahead and vote in that poll. With that being said, if you're watching on Twitter, if you're watching on Twitch, thank you as well. Appreciate you all. We're going to start bringing some motherfucking guests on the show. We're going to start doing real debates. That's right. Real debates. You know, the kind of debates that you guys actually want to watch, not that other bullshit. So it's going to get really fun on these streams. Appreciate you all. Let's give a shout out to Lestat91 watching on Twitch. Appreciate you, bro. And Phil dropping a W show. Hey, drop those Ango 316 emotes. Let's drop those emotes. Ango 316. I gotta get some new emotes and shit on this YouTube channel. I'm gonna work on those, man. I really want the chat to start going off with emotes. Like that just makes my heart feel whole. So yeah, we're gonna come up with some new badges maybe. We're going to pimp out these live streams, bro. It's going to be fun as fuck. I can't fucking wait. And I do got a potty mouth and I'm sorry and I apologize. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show. I'll see you next time.